Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and a good night. I am King Piggly, your host here on Gaming Imperfectly, the most imperfect gaming channel / movie review channel on YouTube. Welcome back, guys. And if you're new to the channel, I am King Piggly, and I hope you like what you see. And what are we going to be doing today, guys? We're playing For Honor. Now, I haven't played For Honor on the channel yet, but I have played this game quite a bit. Now, it's an older game, but I think it's quite fitting for what we're going to talk about today, what movie we're going to review. But also, guys, stick around to the end of the video where I'll be reading comments from all you wonderful folks, because you take time to write these comments to me. I'm going to take time to read them out loud for everybody. So stick around to the end of the video. Also, spoiler alert about the movie we're going to be talking about. I am going to spoil this movie, and I don't want you to be spoiled other than with wonderful things, of course. You deserve to be spoiled with wonderful things. What movie, you might be asking? King Piggly, just get to the point. What movie are you going to be reviewing? I'm going to be reviewing a 1981 classic called Excalibur. It's one of the greatest, in my personal opinion, one of the greatest tellings of King Arthur and his court. It stars a lot of people that were popular back in the day in 1981, especially in Britain. But not so much here in the United States. However, there are quite a few names in this I think you'll recognize. Amongst them are Gabriel Byrne. Now, if you've seen the new horror film that everybody's just ranting and raving about that King Piggly didn't think was all that great, Hereditary, he plays the father in Hereditary, Gabriel Byrne. He was also the guy that fought Ragnar in Season 1 of Vikings. But he wasn't all that popular at this point in time. So, also there is a younger Patrick Stewart, Jean-Luc Picard. He's also in this. And also a young Liam Neeson, just like in Krull. We talked about Krull the other day. He's in this. But let's just get into this movie review. So this movie, like I said, came out in 1981. I can't remember who directed it, guys, but it is a absolute fantastic movie. Where these, it starts out with obviously a country in turmoil, a land in need of a king, and what do we got to do? Change your guard to right, left, all the way around. We're changing. We're doing it. Okay. So you see a guy named Uther Pendragon, and Merlin's like, you know, you can be king, and gives him Excalibur. But he's not very good, and he's kind of corrupt, and instead of really uniting the land, which was what he meant to do, he ends up betraying one of his lords, one of the guys that were... the guy was originally fighting him, and then he... block enemy attacks. Okay, we're blocking these attacks, guys. He betrays this guy and kills him, and because he wanted his wife. And he ruins the peace because he, let's see, hit with light attack, no problem. So Uther does betray one of his lords and kills the guy, takes his wife, and of course she gets pregnant and, you know, has Arthur. But to do this, he asked Merlin for magic to be able to disguise himself as the Duke. And so he rode into the Duke's castle disguised as the Duke magically, because he looked like him. Thanks to Merlin's magic, he looked like the guys that he killed, and his wife did not know that it was Uther, but thought it was her husband. So when she slept with him, she didn't know that it was, you know, Uther Pendragon, much less that her husband was dead. However, to do this magic, Arthur required, or Merlin required Uther to give up his firstborn, the product of his lust, if you will. So he does. So when the baby is born, Arthur is born. Well, this guy didn't stand a chance, did he? Oh, I'm fatigued. Everybody, watch out. Armor's heavy. Oh, come on, dude. How can you not hit this dude? He's like right there. Okay. So, he does, you know, he takes he takes Arthur, but you know, in his anger, once Merlin takes Arthur and runs off with him, Uther goes chasing after him. And one of the things, excuse me, one of the things I really enjoy about this movie is the way it's shot. It's very grainy. It's very gritty. It's the armor looks rusty and it squeaks. You know, it's not this bright and shining armor that they did in like First Night with Sean Connery and other. You know, that's the thing about it, is that a lot of stories that talk about King Arthur fall short to me, and they have for quite some time. So it's really hit or miss. But the reason I like this one is because it's dirty, it's grainy, it's gritty. It's a really good version of the Arthurian tales. Where was I? So yeah, so Merlin takes Arthur, and when he does, Uther goes chasing after him. But of course, there are people who don't like Uther as king because, like I said, he wasn't a very good king. He had betrayed one of his lords, and he wasn't a very good king. And so when he rode out after Merlin to get Arthur the baby back, he was ambushed and attacked and killed. But before he died, he took the sword Excalibur and he shoved it into the stone, hence the legend, The Sword in the Stone, you know. And if you guys have seen Disney's A Sword in the Stone, this movie is very similar to that telling, which is really neat. It's almost like a live action version, a more grittier version of The Sword in the Stone by Disney. But again, I love it. While the knights are arguing over Arthur being king and who's not going to be king, and like I said, Jean-Luc Picard's character, or Patrick Stewart's character in this, Jean-Luc Picard, Patrick Stewart's character in this decides with Arthur. But Arthur, while these knights are arguing about this, he runs off with Merlin. You know, and Merlin, he's like, I need answers, and this, that, and the other. So Merlin gives him answer, or talks to him and kind of tells him what to do. That's the other thing. The guy that plays Merlin in this, he's like wearing a silver domed hat and this black robe. It's not necessarily what you think. It's certainly not the classic look for Merlin, and I really enjoy his performance in it. So while they're off talking, Merlin and Arthur, Jean-Luc Picard's castle is being sacked by all the bad knights. What was that? So Merlin actually, Arthur goes to his dad again and gets his dad and Kay, all the guys that sided with him, all the knights that sided with him, and tells them, we got to go help the Grants. We got to go help Jean-Luc Picard.
Help us bring archers to the field.
And of course they all agree. They're like, yeah, let's go help Jean-Luc Picard. And so that's what they do. They go and try to help, and when they show up, all the knights are attacking. Well, during this fight, Arthur, charges in. And all these guys are wearing, armor and everything else. Arthur isn't wearing armor. He's all, he's just got, this padded clothing on. And, but he charges into the fight anyway.
Those archers need to
and he ends up beating up, the lead knight, who is attacking the castle, and who opposes him, as king. And his name was Uriens. And Sir Uriens wants nothing to do with, with Arthur. But Arthur beats him, and, has him down, and has him down, basically on his knees. It was like, yeah, you're done, And he spares him, and not only does he spare him, because the guy, Uriens, is like, you want me, a noble knight, to, swear fealty to a lowly squire. And, Arthur says, yeah, you're right, I am a squire. And he's like, so let's fix that, let's remedy that. And he hands Uriens Excalibur. So he actually hands this guy his sword. And the guy looks at it, and he has a perfect opportunity at this point in time to kill Arthur, to take the sword for himself and become king. But the bravery of Arthur to hand this guy who he had at his mercy, because he certainly had Uriens at his mercy, to hand him his sword, just moved Uriens. And he, by showing this amount of bravery, it convinces Urians. And he even says to him, you know, he was amazed by it. He says, because, you know, the bravery of handing your weapon to another man, you know, surely your blood must be Uther Pendragon. You know, he calls him his father's son because, you know, Arthur's dad is Uther. And so he joins him. And then prosperity hits the land. I mean, then the land has a king. So Arthur is there, and John Luke Picard's character's daughter is Guinevere. So Guinevere, Patrick Stewart introduces his daughter to, you know, to Arthur, and they fall in love, and they end up getting married. So anyway, the land prospers, and, you know, King Arthur sets up his court at Camelot. They build Camelot, and they have the round table, and the round table is awesome because it signifies that every man is equal that sits at that table. Nobody is better, even the king is not better than the other men. But by the end of it, you know, a female version of Merlin shows up, who is Morgana Le Fay, and she is actually the daughter of the Duke that Arthur's dad killed, that Uther killed at the very beginning, and Arthur is her half-brother because they have the same mother. So anyway, when she shows up, she wants Merlin to teach her. She's an adult now, you know, and you saw her in the background when Arthur was born. You saw the little girl, but she's grown up now, and of course she remembers what Merlin did and how he tricked her mother with his magic, and that's how Arthur was born. So she definitely has some resentment there. There's some little bit of anger about the death of her father still, and her goal really is to break Arthur's spirit, to break him down and to destroy him, because she's angry about her father's death and Merlin placing Arthur on the throne. You know, she's not okay with that, but she eventually actually succeeds in a way. But there's when the problems start, because not only is Morgan Le Fay in the court and all that jazz, but she's, oh come on, Lancelot falls in love with Guinevere, and okay, I gotta get out. I gotta kill that little dude right there. He's on my last nerve. So yeah, he's in love with Guinevere, and to make the matters worse, you know, of course Guinevere is in love with him, you know. So oh come on, and that doesn't bode well for Arthur, you know, because eventually, of course, an affair starts, and you know, at the same time, Morgan Le Fay uses her magic and sleeps with Arthur, so she gets pregnant by her brother. You know, which is, of course, and you know, incestuous and not cool in any way, shape, or form. But it's what happens in the story. So, you know, she runs off to have this baby, and Lancelot sleeps with Guinevere, and, you know, Arthur discovers them sleeping together. And, you know, Lancelot runs off in shame. And the land suffers because the king suddenly is, you know, he even leaves Excalibur behind. And when Lancelot discovers that the king has left Excalibur behind, you know, there's a great line in the film where he says, you know, the land without a king without a sword, land without a king, because the king is depressed and he's, you know, he's sick. He's sitting in his throne room and he's not doing anything. And so he sends his knights on a quest to find basically a cure for his melancholy, for his depression. That's really what it comes down to. And of course, that quest is to find the Holy Grail. And the movie has taken a really dark turn at this point in time. It's quite moving. But then Percival, you know, who is the youngest of all his knights, finds the Grail. You know, and you know, it's a great scene in the movie. It's very powerful. I don't want to spoil everything for you, so I'm not going to go into great detail of how that happens. But when he shows back up, it rejuvenates the king. And you know, there's a great scene where you know, when he's getting better, he's healing his son from his incestuous relationship, comes to call. And his son's name's Mordred, and Mordred shows up to the castle and basically spits on him and says he wants to fight him and take the kingdom by force. And so King Arthur rallies his knights and ride out to meet this one last foe. There's a huge battle scene. In this battle scene, almost everybody dies. Lancelot shows back up to defend Arthur at the last minute, but also dies because of his wounds, that he suffers during the fight. And but he saves Arthur. He certainly saves Arthur's life during the fight. But at last, it's Mordred and Arthur are left, and Mordred stabs his father with his spear, like all the way through, like stabs him, and yeah, so he stabs his father, runs him through, but at the same time, Arthur stabs his son and kills him. And as he's laying there dying, Arthur is laying there dying, Percival shows up and says, what do you want me to do, sire? And he says, take the sword and throw it into the lake, And he does. Percival goes and he takes Excalibur and he throws it into the lake. And when he does, a hand comes up, the lady in the lake, and she takes the sword back down with her. And of course, the Arthurian legend is that one day the king will rise again, and when he does, Excalibur will rise, and the world will be a better place, and Britain will be great, and everybody will be great once Arthur comes back. I don't know about all that, but I do know that in this movie, there are just wonderful, everything about this film I absolutely love. Yes, it is an old film, but as far as the Arthur tale goes, this is one of the best telling, if not the best telling, of the Arthurian legends out there. So, I cannot recommend this movie enough. There's so many wonderful things about it. And like I said, it's just a great story. It's a great adventure. And again, it's not like a lot of the tellings that go on, it's just not very good. And this is excellent. So if you haven't seen Excalibur, I highly recommend that you guys go see this at your nearest convenience. Buy it. Again, it's on Amazon. You can get the DVD, I think, for like $5 or $6, maybe $10 at the most, but it's totally worth it. Put it in your collection. If you're a movie fan, this is a must-have in your collection. There are some, I will say this, there are some graphic nudity, sex scenes, stuff like that in it. It is not made for children. But there we go, guys. That's it. That's all for King Pigleys. Let's go ahead and let's rate this movie. What are we going to give Excalibur? I'm going to give Excalibur 4 crowns. But anyway, 4 crowns. Excalibur. Go see it. Watch it. Love it. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section once you do. Or if you have seen it, let me know what you think in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you. Speaking of which, let's read some comments, guys, because that's what I like to do. The first comment comes from Easy Drawing. Easy Drawing says, like. Well, thank you, Easy Drawing. I really appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time to come by. Thanks for taking the time to watch, and I'm glad that you liked it. And the next comment comes from Gojiwan Gaming. Gojiwan Gaming says, I am still trying to hold my jaw up and observing how you do a movie review while keeping your train of thought cohesively streamlined as you play. Really glad I subscribed to you. You never cease to amaze me. Well, thank you so much. Gojiwan Gaming. You're so nice. You're too kind. I don't know about cohesively streamlined. I don't think those two words in my brain and the way it works has ever been used together in the same sentence. But thank you. It truly is more of a chaotic whirlwind of chaos up there. Not so much the cohesive streamline. But thank you so much. You're too kind. Anyway, that's it for King Pigley today, guys. I don't have anything else for you. If you haven't done it yet, hit that like button for me. Helps me out. Lets me know you're enjoying the content. Really appreciate that. Helps the channel and lets YouTube know that you're enjoying the content, and that helps me in the algorithm. So all big wins there. So smashing that like button for me, guys. Let's get this video up to 25 likes. We can do it. Together we can do anything. And also, if you haven't done it yet, go ahead and click that bell. Get the notifications, guys. It's easy. Click, ding, do it. If you don't do it, you don't get the notifications. You don't want to do that. You don't want to miss out on the next most imperfect of videos with King Pigley, your most imperfect host here in King Pigley's court. Why would you want to miss out on that? Anyway, guys, I'm out of here for the day. I am tired, and it's late. I'm actually recording this very late, so I am out of here. And I will see you guys in the next video.